guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled I'm Not Breaking the Law, I'm a Cop. Just read a security guard's encounter with several entitled a-holes, and it reminded me of some of the stuff I experienced as a security guard. These all happened back in my 20s, so a while ago now. Where I live in Yorkshire, we have an industrial estate out of town and a smaller one in town. This night I was on patrol on the smaller one. We were actually only contracted to 6 sites, but they were so spread out I actually had to walk the entire estate, taking about an hour per patrol. As I'm approaching one of the factories I had to go in, I noticed 2 PPL trying to open the locked door. I called out and they both jumped away from the door like they had been shocked. I was in full security uniform. These 2 were dressed all in black and looked guilty as duck in their facial expressions. One of them said he had been fired that day but had been kicked off site before he could clear his locker and had come with his wife to get his stuff back. I didn't believe him, after all it was 1 in the morning. His wife then kicked off saying I should let them in, and they hadn't broken any laws, trying to force the door so emo that's attempted to burgle. And that she can't be breaking the law as she's a local copper. She refused to show and got more abusive, so I just keyed my radio, told my boss what was going on. He sent a nearby support team van and called the local station. It all went insane after that. The bloke tried to fight my support, then his wife claimed she was arresting us for obstruction of justice. The local cops turned up and confirmed she was a special constable, part-timer. Her husband agreed to come back in daylight hours after he apologized to my support to avoid getting arrested. The wife however insisted I was under arrest, and the full-time officer basically told her to shut up, go home and think whether she should remain a special constable. Never found out what became of them, but I did my job. No one got hurt, so I chalked it up as a win and a good shift. The next story is titled Family Man Thinks Having Wife and Kids Grants Disability and First-Class Privileges. We're getting ready to board our plane from Kona to Honolulu. Kona Airport is completely outdoor, open concept in design. Storms caused 1.5 hours delay, the airport is crowded and people are getting soaked if they're not standing under a roof. We get our boarding call. They're beginning with pre-boarding for people who need assistance first, disabilities, wheelchairs, etc. People are cutting in line because it's noisy and chaotic. Pre-boarding completes and first class is called. Husband and I are flying first class, and a family man is causing a scene ahead of us because he cut through the line with pre-boarding group. He's blocking the line and telling us to wait so his wife and toddler can board before us. It's still pouring and we're soaked. Several of us tell him that only first class was called to board. He's mad at all of us, still blocking the line, cussing us out because he's not boarding before us. It's only an hour-long flight, guys, relax, he yells. We continue moving through the line while he's standing and huffing and puffing, communicating with his wife that he's really trying to get them on the plane fast. The next story is titled How Hard Can It Be to Give Something Away? This weekend I advertised on Facebook Marketplace a hot water heater I had taken out. It was older, but worked just fine. I put it up free to a good home. The entire process of trying to give a hot water heater away was an epic saga, but this particular person takes the cake. This conversation took about 2 hours and other people were messaging in between. Lots of messages. Her, is this still available? Me, yes, this is still available. Her, great, I really want it. 15 minutes goes by while I wait for something I can respond to. Her, I'm desperate. I paid $30 for one that didn't work and I really need one. My kids have to wash in cold water. Me, I'm happy to help. When can you come get it? You'll need a vehicle to hold it, and someone to help you move it. Her, I don't have a truck. Me, I'm sorry to hear that, if you know someone with one they might be able to help. Her, I don't know anybody because I just moved here. My ex beat me and I had to get away. Me, it sounds like things haven't gone well for you lately. If you can find someone to help, let me know. Her, can you bring it to me? I really need it and my kids are going to get sick. Me, I'm sorry, I don't have a truck. Her, just put it in your car. You're only about 15 minutes away from me. Me, If anyone I know has a truck and is willing to bring it, I'll let you know. Her. Oh, thank you. How long will it take you to install it? And can you bring me $30 to pay for the one that didn't work? Me. Oh, one of the people that said they wanted it earlier are here to get it. I'm sorry about that. Her. WTF? You said I could have it. Tell them they can't have it, it's mine. Her. Hey, are you there? Her. Hey, what's your number and address? Me. 15 minutes later. I ignored her. Oh man, I just saw this. They already left with it. I'm so sorry. Her. A-hole. You already gave it to me. You need to get me one to replace it. I didn't respond, blocked her, and ended the listing. On the good side, the people who came and got it seemed to be in bad shape themselves, but they showed up, picked it up, took it away, thanked me profusely, and everything was fine. Unfortunately, the ratio of idiots to good folks was painfully high. The next story is titled Am I the A-hole for confronting my neighbors over parking in front of my garage? I live in townhouse-style apartments. The setup gets weird in that even though my garage is to my upstairs unit, the garage on the other side of my front door is actually for the unit across from its apartment, which means that it's attached to a first-floor unit. This is important context for the story. These are one-car-sized garages, so the space between your front door and the garage is quite limited. I've lived in my place for about 11 months. The first 5 months were glorious in that neighbors were friendly, quiet, and conscientious. Then a young couple moved in next to me. The first week, they had a trailer parked in front of my garage, which I had to politely ask for them to move. I made sure to be friendly but was usually met with the husband never looking me in the eyes or apologizing. Even though I was annoyed, I figured it was temporary as they were just moving in. In the last few months, they started using their garage as their front door. This meant that they'd have guests sometimes chatting on and around my doorstep. It's been rare for me to leave my front door without finding my neighbor right in front, or a few inches away from it. Still, I've been trying to be patient. Today as I was leaving and saw my neighbors Phil and husband outside, I did the polite head nod and went on my way. An hour later, there's a trailer in front of my garage for the 6th time in the last few weeks. Again, they don't make eye contact and then they slink off and move the trailer. I'm pissed because where I'm from, if I was going to do something that interferes with my neighbor, I'd reach out to them to ask for help, permission. These people have done nothing of the sort. Here's where I may be the awe. Initially, I wasn't going to say anything, but when I was on my balcony watering the plants, the father-in-law said hello and then I asked about the trailer. I wasn't rude, I just said something along the lines of, "Hi, I noticed you guys were moving." This has happened a lot in the last few weeks. I don't mind if you need the extra space, but could you please just ask first? You could have mentioned it when I was leaving earlier. Honestly, I don't mind, just a heads up is nice. I was met with a stunned look. He stammered and then walked off. The wife, his daughter, I think, took over the conversation and made it seem like it wasn't a big deal and that they were in the process of doing something important. I then said, "I understood, but a heads up is all I'm asking for." She apologized and then went on her way. The interaction left me even more annoyed but confused. Am I the a-hole for bringing this up, or should I have just let it go? Comment said not the a-hole. Since they aren't bothering to ask if they can park in front of your garage, which they shouldn't even be doing that anymore, you should feel no obligation to ask them to move it before you have it towed away. I'd speak to the complex management first, and if it happens again, just have it towed. They're trying to claim your space as their own, and that's not okay. Another comment said not the a-hole, and since this has happened multiple times and you've politely asked them not to do that, you should look into filing a complaint with your complex. They clearly have no plans to stop their behavior. The next story is titled First Paycheck Held Back. This was in the 80s and I got home from college for Christmas break. I needed money for Christmas gifts and got a job at the Gap at the local mall. After a good interview with a woman about 10 years older than me, she asked the normal questions, told me the job was only for the holidays and when I would be going back to school. I told her when and that I knew it was temporary, that I needed money for Christmas gifts. I asked about the pay and frequency. It was minimum wage and paid bi-weekly. I take the job and quickly learn that all the jeans on the shelf had to be folded a certain way or the MGR would throw a hissy fit. Customers were a nightmare, never putting anything back on the shelf and just dropping jeans on the floor. We'd constantly be picking up, sorting by size and folding them the Gap way. All goes well and I'm looking forward to my first paycheck, as in just the first 2 weeks I had worked 50+ hours. She hands out paychecks but skips me. Afterwards I ask her about my paycheck, and she tells me that the corp office in CA holds the first check and I'll be paid at the next pay period in 2 weeks. I looked at her in disbelief, as I realized that the next pay period will be after Christmas. I said, "You knew I took this job to get money for Christmas gifts. Why didn't you tell me about the paycheck hold, knowing I actually won't be paid until after Christmas?" She told me she needed the help and thought I wouldn't take the job if I knew this. I got in her face and screamed at her for lying to me, that I quit, and to have payroll mail my check to me, and as I walked out I told my coworkers what just happened. They couldn't believe it, as they were told about the pay hold at the time they were hired. Cue petty revenge. Since I didn't really have anywhere to go at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I hung out for a little while at the mall. Later on, I saw the MGR and heading to the food court for her dinner break, and I knew it was my opportunity. I went back to the store and started swiping all the jeans into piles. I apologized to my former coworkers, but they understood. I left the store in chaos. 3 coworkers clocked out and left sick. This left the MGR and only 2 others to clean up. But screw them too. I was super pissed. The next story is titled "I Assembled My First Lego Set Out of Spite." It's straight from The Simpsons Season 1 Episode 9. Homer gets Marge a bowling ball for her birthday. He loves to bowl, and she doesn't even know how. So instead of letting him enjoy the ball, she gets lessons and uses it herself. So, my husband loves to Lego. I do not. I have watched him spend countless hours poring over every new set. I think it's dumb, but I don't mess with him because everyone needs something to relax and enjoy. There are worse things a guy could do. This year's Christmas, he gifted himself some new sets. It seemed to me like he had enough already, for one holiday season, and then another one arrived in the mail. This one was, for me, because the set is based on one of my favorite TV shows, but he could put it together for me, if I want. He did this last year too. So, this year I decided to take it, if it really is for me. Me greater than, oh no, that's okay, I want to do it. The look of shock and amazement on his face was worth it. He was freaking stunned. I still think they're dumb. But something is satisfying about putting this set together. The next story is titled "Revenge on My Harasser." This took place when I, F17, was 16. And I have to say I'm pretty proud of myself for this one. So, this all started out extremely petty. Typical high school drama. My friend, who we'll call Sarah, F16, got broken up with by this guy Jake, M17. 2 days later, Sarah's childhood best friend, Abby, starts dating Jake. Ensue petty group chats and arguments in which my whole friend group was defending Sarah. For whatever reason, Abby took a particular interest in engaging with me, arguing, calling, etc. Which I thought was strange considering it wasn't my drama and I was just defending my friend who was justifiably very hurt. Eventually everyone forgets about the original drama soon after, but Abby continued to text, call, post about me. I'm definitely not one for confrontation, so I soon blocked her, as I didn't really care. I wish I could say it ended there. Abby continued to make fake accounts, sign up for new numbers through websites, and started genuinely harassing me. Sending message after message, call after call, telling me to unalive myself and saying horrible stuff about what she hopes happens to me. I hope you get the gist of what I mean by that. I made all new, private accounts, and changed my phone number twice over the span of probably 8 months, but it never stopped. She leaked my address, number, etc. And also, at one point she convinced my boyfriend at the time to cheat on me with her. There were constantly new numbers calling and it was hell. Typically, I would just tell her to go duck herself and block. But after a while it ate at me, and I needed to retaliate. I went to my printer and printed off over 40 pages of screenshots of some genuinely horrible and vile things she said to both me, and other people she's done this to in the past, put them in a manila folder, and addressed it to her parents with no return address. Dropped it off at the post office and simply waited. About a week later I find out she had been grounded for 6 months with no phone and no contact with anyone. Her parents even pulled her out of in-person school and forced her to go virtual. Pretty successful revenge if you ask me. She's also horribly racist and homophobic, so it checks out. The next story is titled "Refuse to Give the Gift You Promised My Daughter?" Fine, I'll take away the gift I got for you. This year I got a new job that has been paying me very well. Therefore, for this Christmas I decided to splurge on everyone. In particular, I spent a lot of my money on my 9-year-old daughter, and she deserves it 100%. She has been pushing herself in school, helping around in the house without being asked, and always being the kindest soul you'll ever meet. However, when my mother-in-law came early in the morning and saw how the gifts under our tree, she was much more than usual asked why. I told her I bought everyone a bunch of gifts, including her. She then proceeded to ask how much gifts I got my daughter, and I told her about 3 big gifts and 3 mini ones. Apparently, this outraged her because she started saying that a 9-year-old did not deserve that many gifts and she would be taking away the gift she bought my daughter so that my daughter wouldn't be too spoiled. I told her that was unfair, especially since my mother-in-law promised my daughter a doll for Christmas and my daughter was looking forward for it. My mother-in-law said let it be a lesson to my daughter that in life she can't get all things she asks for. Look, I understand that, but it's not like I shower my daughter in gifts every day. And if anything, Christmas is the day you are supposed to spoil your children. But my wife told me to let it go, and it was her mother's gift and therefore she could do anything she wanted with it, and her mother agreed, saying it was her right. And if we were going to play with that ideology, then so be it. I decided to remove the $600 designer bag I got my mill, the thing I knew she wanted the most, and gave her a $40 robe instead. Once my mother-in-law opened her present, she was disappointed, asking if that was all from me, because everyone else got increasingly more expensive gifts from me. And I said yes and apologized if I disappointed her, but we can't always get the gifts we hoped for. This left both her and my wife extremely furious, but hey, the mother-in-law got enough gifts, I wouldn't want to spoil her. The next story is titled My Neighbor Wouldn't Respect Me, So I Weaponized Justin Bieber. I live in a fairly large apartment building in a medium-sized city. I moved in here last year, and throughout the year my biggest issue has been an older gentleman who lives next door to me. This man likes to blast his stereo and TV simultaneously at all hours of day and night. When I first moved here, I introduced myself to the man and explained to him that the noise coming from his apartment was making my apartment unlivable. Despite that fact, he continued. Over time my complaints toward him turned into him suggesting I wanted him sexually. I don't even know where he came up with that, but eventually I went to the building management about the problem. I know they discussed it with him, but nothing changed. Anyway, today I haven't really been feeling well, and all I wanted to do was nap on and off and watch movies. I had been doing that all day until 8:30 p.m., where I was rudely awoken to the sounds of my neighbor's stereo blasting. I don't know if waking up in what felt like a nightclub had something to do with it, but in my sleepy state I was fuming and determined to punish my neighbor for yet again blasting music. I have a tiny Bluetooth speaker, but it's one of the ones that packs a serious punch. So, I put it on full blast and played what I thought would annoy someone the most, Justin Bieber. Halfway through Justin singing, "My Girl," my neighbor turned down the music. I quickly turned off my blasting music as well, but I think he got the point. So now I really think that's going to be my way to deal with loud-ass, rude neighbors from now on. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.